In the article, Joanne is quoted as saying that the price rise would not stop her from smoking. For Joanne, cigarettes are a necessity. For Joanne, cigarettes are a necessity to her. Her personal preference for her cigarette demand is inelastic, as her quantity demanded will not vary greatly due to the change in price. This is shown in the graph of demand and supply. As demand is inelastic, supply is constant. As price increases, the demand would not change whatsoever. It is the same for a decrease in price on cigarettes. The price will not change for Joanne's demand. Unlike luxury and inferior goods, the demand is elastic and supply is constant. As price increases for a luxury good, the quantity demanded would decrease greatly. And as price decreases, the demand would increase drastically. Imposing taxes will have a minimal effect on these people with inelastic demand. However, taxing on other necessities may reduce the consumption on cigarettes, such as petrol for cars. This may also have a similar effect if the government is willing to subsidize e-cigarette competitors to make consumers leave the cigarette market and enter the new one.
In the article, Yeltsin is quoted as stating, "I'm an addict, so I would keep on smoking, but not that much anymore." If the majority of smokers represent Yeltsin's view, what do you expect the market for cigarettes to look like, with the tobacco excise being imposed? Yeltsin's individual response indicates that an increase in the price of cigarettes will lead to a decrease in demand. As it is the price of the good that is changing, it represents a movement along the demand curve rather than a shift. The slope of the curve will also become flatter. While this response indicates an elastic demand, a key determinant of elasticity is the time horizon, meaning that goods will be inelastic through the short-term period. However, as time goes on, the elasticity continues to increase. In this case, in the short term, the demand will be relatively inelastic due to the addictive nature of the good. This means the slope of the curve will be relatively steep. So this is the demand curve here, which we'll call D, and this is the supply curve, called S. So this is the equilibrium quantity, and we'll call it QE. And this is the equilibrium price, so it's called PE. So as we discussed, it's a movement along the demand curve and the price is increasing, so it goes in this direction depending on how much the price increases. So therefore this is the new market quantity, which we'll call QM. And this is the new market price, so called PM. So as the tax continues to increase, the price burden increases on both the buyers and the sellers. However, the buyers end up paying a larger amount of tax share because the sellers make back their losses through increasing prices. This means that the consumer tax burden area will be larger than the buyer tax burden area. So this is the consumer tax burden here. And the area in black is the buyer's tax burden. As we can see from this representation of Yeltsin's response, the answer to question 2 is graph D.
Comment on the following statement. Holding all other factors constant, if smokers were more sensitive to the increase in the tobacco excise, the dead weight loss would be smaller. The dead weight loss, DWL, is defined as an allocative inefficiency occurring when the point of equilibrium is not met and there is a surplus of supply in any given market for a good or service. The physical dead weight loss is the addition of both parties' opportunity costs from the government policy placed into the market. Government taxes are a major factor of this inefficiency because the market price of a good has been increased beyond the point of equilibrium, naturally creating DWL. Smokers usually have an inelastic demand curve due to the addictive nature of the good. However, in this case, they are held to be more sensitive to the changes in tax, thus causing the demand curve to be elastic. A change in price results in a more than proportionate change in quantity demanded. In terms of the tobacco excise, each party is negatively impacted as the buyer cannot financially fulfill their needs, decreasing demand more than the relative change in price. The seller is losing large amounts of profit due to the decreased demand, and thus the tax burden is mostly on producers, as shown here at PS. This causes consumer and producer surpluses to decrease and the DWL to grow accordingly. As price increases, DWL will get bigger as shown. Therefore, this government initiative will impose the tobacco market to be elastically demanded, not resulting in a smaller DWL, but rather a larger one. This is quantity demanded and quantity supplied, and supply is greater than demand. Therefore, there is a surplus in the market. Therefore, the answer is false as shown in the graph. An increase in price of elastic demand increases the dead weight lost. In comparison, an inelastic demand for cigarettes. In Joanne's case, her demand for cigarettes is inelastic as she states that she would not stop smoking due to the increase in price. Therefore, the DWL is smaller than Samantha's demand as she would stop smoking due to the increase in price. When someone chooses to smoke, they understand that they have an increased chance of lung cancer. That is, the private costs to the individual are already accounted for. Therefore, the government should not bother wasting taxpayers' money on scare campaigns to deter smokers. Do you agree or disagree? I disagree with this statement. Scare campaigns such as the one referenced use truthful information about the consequences of smoking and how it directly decreases an individual's health in an attempt to deter people from starting smoking or to give them a reason to give up. Therefore, without these campaigns, there would be a decrease in awareness of the effects of smoking. Until you reach 21 years of age, the frontal lobe of the brain, which is associated with risk assessment, hasn't fully developed. This means younger generations are unable to assess the full consequences of smoking. The use of scare campaigns reinforces the effects of smoking while also enforcing a negative connotation towards smoking in society and deters young people away from starting. For older generations, there wasn't much information about the effects of smoking and therefore no reason to take it up. The introduction of these campaigns made people more aware of the effects and provided them with more reason to give it up. Therefore, the government initiative of scare campaigns provides the society with information about the effects of smoking and heavily influences one's decision to take it up or not, as well as there is an opinion towards the issue on society. With this taken into account, Without the government initiative of scare campaigns, the full effects of smoking would be less known to society and smoking would be more accepted within society. The scare campaigns would decrease the incidence of smoking and therefore the incidence of lung cancer and other disease caused by smoking. As the incidence of diseases caused by increases, the government would spend more money on hospitals and public health systems in the future rather than the cost of the campaigns in the present.